apologize for the wind noise before we get started. There's quite a bit of wind noise. It's springtime, or almost spring, but I wanted to talk today about leadership and women's leadership. It's 2008, and the feminist movement of the 1970s and even into the 80s seems like a long time ago. I was rereading, I actually never read Gilligan in entirety before in some of her early works, and she discusses the moral development of people and contrasts the experience of moral development in females with that of males. And Carol Gilligan was writing in the 80s, in the mid-80s, as from a philosophical standpoint. It's quite interesting to think about how moral values and ethics are different between men and women, and we are essentially conditioned by our society into roles and to belief systems, so that the ethical aspects of leadership are impacted because women are going to take an approach that tends to be different than men. If you agree with the stance of Carol Gilligan, and the idea that women feel a more of a sense of like vicarious agency and less direct modes of action, whereas there's more of a need to be a facilitator, and also more responsibility taken for communications. So it's quite interesting to think that here we are in a time when women, or at least one woman, is rising to prominence and is essentially representing to all of us the idea of a female leader. But I think the thing to keep in mind is that there are many faces of leadership and many styles of leadership, and the one that we see in front of us most of the time is not necessarily the one that we could say that represents the majority. And to get a sense of say, philosophical issues or ideas that will influence behaviors, it's very worthwhile to go ahead and look at some of the investigations that were done at the very cusp of the early years of cusp of feminine consciousness raising. Having a hard time articulating my thoughts today, but all very worthwhile. And again, I'd like to encourage you to think about women's leadership from a moral development standpoint and look at Carol Gilligan in addition to some of the basics and the development of moral leadership or moral codes.